So guys, Lamsa is the Lebanese Association of Medical Services for Addiction. It's a medical student-run NGO, and it is an NGO by the youth, for the youth, for a happier and healthier life. Our three main goals are to provide evidence-based medical education, spread awareness, and most importantly, destigmatize disease. Um, Okay, so ASD is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by three important points. First, weakened social communication and interactions. Second, repetitive behaviors. And third, limited interest and persistence on sameness. As it is a spectrum, we can find different levels of severity, going from light, moderate, and severe. It's very important to know that autism is not a mental health disorder, but it is a neurodevelopmental disorder, which means it's a different wiring in the development of the brain. This table shows you, as you go down the table, the severity of the disease increases. So the substantial support is becoming more important, and the barrier in the social communication and in the repetitive behavior becomes more prominent. So people on the spectrum find difficulties initiating conversation. They have limited and decreased interest in social interaction, and they have inflexibility, and they find challenges in various areas of functioning. Guys, please, from time to time, please let me know if you're hearing me.
Yes, Serena, we're listening.
Okay, thank you. As Temple Grandin once said, no two children with autism are alike. The goal is to observe and to find specific pattern of response each child exhibits. So it's not a typical disease. And here comes the importance of the early intervention and the early diagnosis in order to help children on the spectrum to grow and be productive in their life. So the three spheres affected in ASD are, as I already said, communication, repetitive behaviors and limited interest, and social interaction. I'll start with the altered social interaction. First, a child with autism does little or no visual contact at all. Uh, he has limited imitation capacity. And as you already know, that children learn by imitation. And that's why we find that children with autism find difficulties learning, and sometimes this is a big challenge for parents. They lack emotional reciprocity, which means you can come and say to a child with autism, I love you, and he may not respond back. He has very poor sharing of pleasure with others, which means he doesn't like to play with other kids. He prefers to play with his toys. He doesn't share food. So that's mainly the altered social interactions. In the altered communication, a child with autism has difficulty to initiate or to maintain a conversation. For example, he doesn't choose pronouns. He refers to himself by his name. He doesn't choose the pronoun I. We have language delay or absence. And here comes the importance of the speech therapy that I'll be talking about later. And sometimes he repeats the same words. And this is called immediate or delayed echolalia, which means if he heard on the TV someone saying, wow, that's awesome, he may be repeating it out of nowhere without, in the wrong context. So his parents may think, why is my child talking when he's alone, but he doesn't respond to me when I'm talking to him? Basically, the child is not understanding what he's saying. So he'll be repeating those words, wow, it's awesome, in a robotic way. And if he grows up and starts talking, he may just intrude in a conversation and doesn't put you in the proper background. Lastly, the stereotype behaviors and the restricted interest. A child with autism has excessive preoccupation for one subject. For example, if he's passionate about cars, all his room will be about cars, his pajamas will be about cars, and more specifically, he'll be preoccupied by a component of this object. For example, the wheels. He may be capable of spending half an hour or an hour just spinning the wheel of the car. Second, he has a compulsive attachment for a routine. So every day he wakes up at the same hour, he takes the same bus to go to the same school and sit at the exact same place. So we can see that children with autism have a very high resistance to change. And during this pandemic and the COVID-19 lockdown, as much as this lockdown was hard for us, the transition, the homeschooling, the work from home, uh, just we have to think a little bit about children with autism who already don't like the change and they're so attached to their routine. How much this change was hard for them. The motricity peculiarity, um, it means that sometimes a child with autism would start clapping his hands or start screaming, looking up to the lights, and miss on other details that are happening around him. Um and he has limited interest and excessive. Once he's interested in something, he he really does it to the extreme. So here are some difficulties faced that children with autism and their parents face as well. Um, Mainly, it resumes everything. They may find sleeping difficulties or feeding difficulties. For example, a child with autism can stick to one color of food. He will just drink milk, eat white cheese, eat pasta. So, this is a big challenge for the parents. He has an abnormal emotional reaction. Sometimes he will hug you and show a lot of affection, and sometimes he can really don't answer or don't give you any attention. And he may do some attention-seeking behaviors such as screaming or biting, and we should be prepared for such reactions. Okay, so this is a study made at AUB, and it was funded, by the way, by Open Minds, the NGO that Mrs. Rima Fadoul founded. And it shows the prevalence of autism in Lebanon. So I highlighted the numbers. It's 148 per 10,000 children, with a ratio of 1.13 male over 1 female. And worldwide, it's a ratio of 4 boys for 1 girl. We can see a discrepancy in the numbers because between 2012 and 2016, in the DSM-5, there were addition of some inclusion criteria for children on the spectrum. That's why we can see an increase in the prevalence. Okay, so the cause of this disease is still not known, but we have a lot of risk factors. The onset is variable, but normally by the age of 3, a child with autism should have been diagnosed, and mainly the pediatricians are the one who diagnose and test for autism at 18 months and at 24 months. It's not known whether epilepsy causes it, but ASD children have an increased risk of having epilepsy. So, autism is a complex disorder resulting from a combination of both genetic and environmental factors. So, here's a list of the risk factors. The advanced paternal age over 34, and it doesn't have anything to do with the maternal age, uh, as in other diseases such as the trisomy 21. The poor maternal physical and mental health, and the maternal prenatal medication use, more specifically the antidepressants, a family of antidepressants called SSRI, The maternal exposure to chemical, the preterm birth, complication during birth, low birth weight, and some post-birth infections such as toxoplasmosis and jaundice. Okay, so this is a list of 5 warning behaviors that parents should pay attention to and think about ASD evaluation. If a child doesn't babble or coo by 12 months, this is an alarming factor. If he doesn't gesture, grab a finger, wave, or point at something by 12 months, this is a warning behavior. If he doesn't say a single word by 16 months, if he doesn't say 2-word phrases on his own by 24 months, and lastly, if he has lost any language of social skill at any age, uh, people should pay attention to this. But as I already said, that a person doesn't become autistic out of nowhere. So most probably, in most cases, these are females that weren't diagnosed early, and then as they grow up, they lose language or social skills. Then they're diagnosed with ASD. So, physicians use an array of formal and informal autism screening tools, and these can range from simple observations to formal assessments. Here's a list of the uh, various screening tools and tests. I highlighted the most used ones, which are the ADOS and the MCHAT, the Autism Diagnostic Observational Schedule, and the Modified Checklist for Autism in Toddlers. We have many others, such as the CARS, the STAT, the ADI, the WISC-5, and they vary in their methods and screening. Um, did you know that 70% of people with special needs experience a lack of understanding by others every day simply because they don't look disabled? In fact, this disease has kind of invisible symptoms, which means to misunderstanding in the population and their parents and the teachers. They have false perceptions, and this leads to judgments and barriers in their adult life. That's why it's super important to spread awareness about this disease and know how to react in society and have a more inclusive society. Autism diagnosis doesn't change who you are. It explains why you think differently. As I already said, the earlier the intervention, the better. First, you have to guide the parents to help their child in her or his development. First, we have the acceptance. Then, we have to inform the parents, provide them with support, and most importantly, educate as early as possible. One of the methods to handle autism is the speech therapy. In fact, speech therapy addresses challenges with language and communication. It helps individuals with autism improve their verbal and nonverbal and social communication. And when I say nonverbal, I mean the gestural, the body language. As I already said, people with autism don't do eye contact, and specialists work on this in order to help them communicate in a more useful and functional way. We have the AAC, which is the Augmentative Alternative Communication. And one example is the PECs. They use symbols and communication books in order to facilitate for children with autism to communicate with others. And they can use video guided instructions. So this is a picture of the PECs. You can see there are pronouns, there are verbs, there are adjectives. So a child with autism would have everything that he wants to say in front of him and just pick whatever he wants to say. And so this is a really effective way to communicate with others. And by the way, guys, studies have shown that engineers with autism are the best at creating the application icons because that's how they communicate mainly through the packs. Okay, so on a personal level, I'm 21 years old. How can I make a change? How can I approach a child with autism? First, and most importantly, you have to establish a relationship with the child and choose your enforcers. Always smile, always be positive. Don't be pushy. Sometimes you want to come and play with a child with autism, but he rejects you. Just be patient and stay calm. Interact through physical activity. Don't try to initiate a conversation because that's a huge barrier for a child with autism. Just take a ball, start playing with him, play with matchbox cars. So yeah, physical activity is the key. Be affectionate, be respectful, show your love and interest, and ignore irritating attention-getting behaviors. As I already told you, sometimes they may start screaming or biting or licking you. So just ignore those behaviors and use your enforcers to appreciate the good behaviors. Okay, so now that you have an idea about ASD, we have many frequently asked questions and misperceptions about this disease. So let's play a game. You can unmute your microphones or you can write it down in the chat. So, yes. What do you think this is? Um, Anyone?
Vaccines?
Okay, great. A lot of people think that vaccines cause autism. Do you have any idea if this is a myth or a fact?
A myth.
Okay, perfect. Any volunteer to read the explanation?
Yes, me.
Okay, Makram, can you read?
Yes, of course. Okay, so though the debate over the role that vaccines play in causing autism grow more heated every day, researchers have not found a link between the two. A scientific review by the Center of Disease Control, CDC, and the Institute of Medicine concluded that the evidence favors rejection of a causal relationship between thimerosal containing vaccine and autism.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Makram. So people used to think that vaccines that contain thimerosal are a cause behind autism. But since the thimerosal is not used anymore in vaccines and the numbers of autism is still increasing, so this is a myth and no studies show that there is any correlation between those two. Next. I don't know if you know this movie of Tom Cruise. Any idea? Okay, in this movie, an autistic person has a very high intellectual capacity and he can like solve everything super rapidly. So people think that people with autism are all have savant capacities. Do you know if this is a myth or a fact? Yusra miss, John miss, Abdulrazak. Okay, bravo guys, perfect. So it's a myth. Anyone wants to read the explanation?
I can.
Okay, Christy, please go ahead.
Okay, well, the media tends to portray the extreme end of autism spectrum. Individuals with ASD have a variety of strengths and needs. Only 1 in 10 autistic persons have any savant abilities. It is important for teachers to provide students with personalized intervention that are based on their unique pattern of needs rather than the diagnosis alone.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Christy. People tend to have this misconception about autism because it's known that Mozart and Einstein were autistic. So only 1 in 10 autistic persons have any savant abilities. I can give you a lecture for 10 hours, but I know that a real testimonial would be much more effective. So please welcome with me Mrs. Rima Faddoul, founder of Open Minds and mother of Naji, a child on the spectrum. Thank you very much, Rima, for giving us your time, and we're so excited to hear about your testimonial.
Hi.
Hi, Rima.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for the invitation, Serena. I just wanted to start with 2 things. First, I'm not the only co-founder, just to clarify it. I'm not the only founder of Open Minds. So I'm a co-founder. We're a group of parents who founded this NGO. Second, I'm not only the mom of Naji. I'm Yara and Jihad too. وهيدا الشيء معلي رح احكي شوي عربي كمان كتير اوقات بنحكي يعني بس يقولوا لنا تنعمل تيمونياج بنحكي بس لانه عنا ناجي بس it's very important to mention always his brother and sister because they are also my partners in this journey. وكتير بيساعدوا الإخوة وقتها بيكون في ولد عنده أوتيزم كتير بيساعدوا مثله مثل الأصحاب. So voilà. هلا you wanted me to talk about my journey that started like 14 years ago. Our journey with autism. When Naji was first diagnosed, he was 2 years old. He's now 16. بدي كمان افتح بارانتيز هون تقول عن شغلي. I'm so happy that people like you are really contributing to raise awareness. It's like انه قطعنا شوط كبير بالاwareness. Like 14 years ago almost nobody have heard about autism, not even me إذا بدك يعني. I'm in the scientific field and I barely knew what was autism. So we're good now إنه عم بيصير في كتير awareness أكتر. I'm also proud of the young يعني young generation يلي كتير عم بيكون عندهم أكتر acceptance وعم بيساعدوا كتير بالاويرنس عن الاوتيزم. اكيد بعد في يعني طريق كبير كتير تيصير السوسايتي تبعيتنا اكثر انكلوزيف واكثر اكسبتنج، بس اكيد احسن من 14 سنه. So by that time I had to travel to the US to confirm the diagnosis of Naji. To get therapies for ناجي، لأنه كمان ما كان في كفاية therapies أو centers يقدروا يقدموا كل السيرفيسز لحدا عنده أوتيزم. ولا كان أبداً يعني السوسايتي بلبنان ولا حتى المدارس ما كانوا أبداً inclusive. يعني أكيد هلأ صرنا بمحل أحسن بكتير. فوالا يعني بس إذا بدي if I want to talk only about inclusion, I'll talk about mainly our role in introducing this philosophy to Lebanon. Because when I first left to the US, we stayed there like for 9 months, where Naji was enrolled in a typical school, let me say a regular school. And he used to he had like one-on-one sessions, and then he used to follow the إذا بدك art والmusic والsport with the typical kids. And this was really very important for him to improve his social interaction. Thing that you mentioned, and it's that very يعني lacks كتير عندهم فيها children with autism. So and then when I came back here to Lebanon, I wanted to have Naji go to a regular school, because as I said, this is very important for them to improve. and it's their right to be in a regular school, to get the chance to and the opportunity to get the regular education that everybody has. By the way, it's a law in the US, it's a law in Lebanon, but this law in Lebanon has never been executed. يعني بعد ما في بيقولوا ما بعرف شو بيسمون، بس بيسمون يعني نصوص تطبيقية تيطبقوا هيدا الشيء، لأنه every child has the right to go a regular school unless there is something that can prevent him from doing so. يعني إذا بشكل خطر أو شيء على الأولاد يلي بالصف معه. So we wanted to find a school for Naji, and here the إذا بدك الجيرني المضبوطة بلشت، لأنه I couldn't find a single school that was willing to have Naji in a regular school with his other with the peers يعني. أكيد أول سؤال كانوا يسألوا is he toilet trained, is he verbal? No, we cannot accept him. Finally, we were introduced يعني by chance to a school بعبدة, a Lebanese evangelical school. Luckily, the principal of the school was British, and he has this philosophy. يعني he used to say that no, school is for everyone. He says that no, I don't have any merit, I don't have any credit if I try to help children who are already brilliant or like smarter than other children. My merit will be if I help children who are in need. So we started the class, one small class in this school, and we founded our NGO. And now this school has more than 75 students with special needs. So they started having like small groups, say mainstream classes, يعني where the students can be mainstream with typical student who don't have any problem, or small groups where the ratio of teachers to students is low. يعني like we have like 2 or 3 students for one teacher. And then we try to help other schools who are willing to help. هلا كمان to be fair with the schools, some schools they don't introduce inclusive programs because they don't have the financial means. Some schools don't have the philosophy of the inclusion. I like, by the way, I like the title you mentioned about ability and disability, because you know until now some school they like to keep their image and their their label as école élite or it's like on شو we heard many many sayings from many principals, unfortunately, saying that on est une école élite, so they want that all their students get a 16 or 17 over 20 average at the finals. So, and this is not really, it's not fair. So we try to approach schools that are willing to receive these children. And now this is the trend all over the world, because this what gives credibility أو إذا بدك merit for the school is to try to include everyone. And as Temple Grandin says, this world, our world, needs all kinds of minds. We cannot like live only with one type of people. You know, the world needs all kinds of minds. So ما بعرف إذا في شيء تاني بدي أقول إنه يعني neurodiversity is a very good thing to have everywhere. كل العالم رايح على to be inclusive لأنه يعني every single child is a treasure, and كل حدا عنده potential, and if we know يعني where to invest in every child, we can really يعني reach a point. مثل ما قلتي وقتها بيطلعوا على السترينثs تبعول الولد بيقدروا يوصلوا معه لمحل instead of انه نتطلع او to focus on his weaknesses where we cannot maybe do too much. So let's focus on their what they can do, and we can improve a lot of their skills. بدي اقول شغله كمان انه اتس نوت يعني مثل ما قلت لك كنت بدي اعطي كريدت لخيو لناجي ولاخته لناجي لانه they really helped him a lot, you know, by accepting this child. من اول شيء من قويله من his self esteem ومن يعني he will be more sociable and he will be more happy by exposing him to different يعني to different situation أكيد بنكون عم نحسن له من الكومبيتنس تبعوله. they are really both of them يعني his brother and his sister كانوا كتير يعني ساعدوا كتير بالawareness like just like you are doing now. I don't know if you remember when Yara she was the first one who talks about autism in we're seeing the pictures now. يعني وقتها for the occasion of the Autism Awareness Day, the World Autism Awareness Day, she made the whole class wear blue, and she had like statements on their t-shirts say, you know, raising awareness about what is autism. And c'était une première يعني بالجمهور. This is how everyone now knows about يعني everyone who knows Yara knows about her brother, and they really like him يعني. But I just want to thank you again for what you are doing, because this is very important. وعن جد I have to admit that this generation is much more accepting people with special needs. I'm not talking only about autism, and we are really proud of this لأنه إذا بدك people of my age, and this was too bad, you know, they are still hiding. Sometimes they hide their children, they don't like to expose them, and they are not doing any يعني anything good for them by doing this. يعني ولا بيساعدون to improve ولا بيساعدون to, you know, to reach the potential they may reach. So ما بعرف إذا بتحبوا
I think
if
the problem
anybody has any question. I would like to more هيك to be more interactive. It would be better.
Merci beaucoup, Hima. I think the problem with the older generation is that they just don't know. I think it's not our generation that is awesome, but with the spread of education, and we're more involved in social activities, and that's how we're getting more inclusive in the society. And a big thanks goes
It's
to
very
Yara.
important to have.
No, I was at Jamour,
Exactly.
and you know, the day that we don't wear the costume, it was استرافوار وكل شيء يعني, you know. بس بالعكس يعني just
No,
كمان
it's very important to mention. It's very important to mention and talking about this and, you know, discussing these issues. يعني أنا I will always say إنه the US, I will be always grateful for the American people وأكتر شيء للautism speaks be in the US, because this is how I started accepting my child من وراء parent group support اللي كنت أحضرهم, من وراء how people used to deal with him in the park, in the school. This is something يعني كان ما في خبركم قد ايه how hard it was to deal with this here in Lebanon when I was back here, even in the supermarket, even in the, you know, in the malls. So I'm sure هلا it's much better than before, but by that time it was very different. So thanks to people like you and to all the NGOs who are working on awareness, and no, this is changing, I hope. I just wanted to mention, Kamina, شوي 2 words about open minds, to give also credit to, because really a big change has been made due to not only open minds, many other NGOs who raise awareness and support people with special needs, and especially with people with autism. Not only we are, I mean, maybe we are the only NGO who supports studies and research in Lebanon. And as you mentioned, we supported one of these studies was the study that you mentioned, statistics or talking about the prevalence of autism in Lebanon. We also promote inclusion, school inclusion, and this is how we help more than 12 schools to start the inclusive program. So they are now receiving students with autism or with other special needs, giving support and therapies within the school, and giving them the opportunity to, be like other children in the same setting. Because this is, I have to mention also that it's not only good for the children with special needs, it's like mutual inclusion. It's like people who, neurotypical kids who don't have any problem, of course they will benefit also from this inclusion, because they will learn a lot from these kids. Not only they will appreciate their their lifestyle and their situation, but they will only learn from these kids how authentic they are, how too many things that they can gain from this interaction with them.
I'm sure that everyone has already met a child with autism, and it was a unique experience. And from my experience, my neighbor and Naji, and thanks to Yara, we didn't talk about this before, but 5 years ago, the day she did the autism campaign, and I still remember this day until today. So yeah, it's good to talk more about it.
And I'm sure that amongst all who are now attending your webinar, I'm sure every and each one of them knows somebody who has autism. It's growing in such a way that I'm sure everybody will have a relative or a neighbor or a friend. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Amjad. It was super nice, and thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing with us. Guys, the floor is open if anyone has any question. These are the references that I used for the presentation. And please, if you have any questions for me or for Mrs. Faddoul, please don't hesitate. And thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure. I'll read the chat. Okay, Jana is asking, how can you... Oh, okay. I will be sending the recording of this session on the group, and we will be posting it on our social media accounts. Just a second. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for joining, and thank you again, Rima.
Thank you.
Bisous. Yalla,
Just
bye,
let me end it with best one thing.
Yeah,
it's just I wanted to say that autism is just a different journey. It's not a typical to deal with it, we just need to learn a new language, be prepared for a new like a different life, but it's an enjoyable journey, and you will you will know that you are here for a reason, and there's a change in the priorities. The life will have another meaning. These kids are a blessing, and I just want to say that he changed our life, not only mine, but I'm sure the life of his sister and brother and his father too. So thank you again.
Thank you very much, Amjad. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Faddoul. Thank you, Mrs. Faddoul, for sharing your story. This is Zainab Karzel. I am the co-founder of Lamsa.
Thank
I have
you.
just one question about the sleeping habits of Naji.
Yes. I'm lucky. I'm lucky because no, he sleeps very good. You're talking
And
about his sleeping habits, right?
yes, right.
Yeah, I know that
And
too many children have problems sleeping. They don't have the regular sleeping patterns that we have, but I'm really lucky with his sleeping pattern, with his eating habits. He's not a picky eater. It all I can't say. It's as Serena says, yani, you cannot compare two child. Every child with autism is a child, and you cannot compare two. There are no two cases alike, but it's a matter of habits also, because we have to know on on what to focus. Yani, what I'm expecting from this child. Try to see his strengths and weaknesses, and focus on if I need his to improve his behavior, his daily life, his lifestyle, or I just want him to improve with the academics. So as for me, I wanted him to be happy, to be sociable, to have a regular, to have an independent life. These were my priorities. So if and the therapies that he had, I was focusing on these goals mainly. So I think this helps him a lot. But definitely there are too many children who have severe problems with eating, with sleeping, and it depends.
yes, okay. Thank you. Thank you for being there and sharing your story with us. And it was very inspiring for all of us, I think. Voilà. So thank you.
Thank you for hosting me.
Oh.
Thank you for the work you're doing as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Serena.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure. I hope you liked it. And don't forget to follow our activities on